Hey, what's up? I am the Popu. First of all, excuse my voice, I'm still a little sick, so if there are like any weird jump cuts here and there, you know, just probably because I've been having a coughing fit and shit, you know. This is a video I made for my homies, you know, to have fun. I'm not a YouTuber, this is my personal list, this is subject to taste, you know how it goes. So it's my top 10 list, so don't... Why is this ranked so low? Because it's a top 10, this is the best of the best for me, you know. Number 10. Hold on. Okay, now I'm ready. On number 10, there's Anatomize, Systematic Torture. So this is like sick, pure, brutal, slamming death metal with an emphasis on the slug. Pressurized, high-impact violence, groovy, not reinventing the wheel by any means, you know, but perfectly encapsulating the theoretical ideal of modern brutal death metal. It's a more than competent, picture-perfect representation of the current state of brutal slamming death metal, specifically in the States, I would say. No, I'm not from the States, I'm from Germany. We roll a little different here. In the Europes, maybe a couple too many impacts and bass drops on this. You know, just a little too modern on the production, maybe. Hella fun is what I can say. It's music for the mosh pit, you know. I haven't gotten the pleasure to see them live yet, but this is definitely music for the pit, made to be seen live, so I hope that'll happen like sometime soon, maybe. Also, excuse my weirdest fucking accent. I have music playing in the background right now. I'm gonna do my best to cut that shit out after the fact. I don't wanna commit copyright infringement and get this shit banned or whatever. I'm just incapable of working ambient noise on my ears. Number 9, Defaced, Chapter 9. See what I did there? That's actually very funny. So this is the definition of sonic onslaught. There's distortion put on literally everything, start to finish, with the tone makes the riff borderline unrecognizable, where line noise is shrieking through moments of rest to prevent you from getting too comfortable. Brutal riffing with like mathcore-like spasms and bursts. Nu metal type grooves fittingly accentuated by corn type bass tone. And the entire mix is just so fucking compressed that there's a constant pumping effect going on. Wherever the kick drum marches through, there are moments of like discordant and out-of-tune melody which would almost be beautiful if it wasn't for those hideous fucking tones. Favorite track is Tongues. It's by far the most ignorant, you know, most stomping, violent track of the entire album by my personal estimation. Somewhat of a beatdown type vibe to it. Never goes on for so long that it gets boring or anything. You know, thumbs up your butt, sick stuff. Check it out and if you haven't. How do you like my set, by the way? It's not a set, it's just my fucking wall. I'm at my fucking PC. It looks like shit here, bro. I'm sorry. Number 8. Sulfuric Cautery, Consummate Extirpation. It's Sulfuric Cautery. He does that line, you know, between gore grind and brutal death metal. Both feet occasionally fully submerging into either side of the swamp. You already know the deal. Like, it's explosive pathology, a moral of lethal accidents and systemic injustice. It grinds, it slams, it has the brutes, you know. I can already tell this with my least insightful review of this entire video. All I can say here is, all I can say you already know. The tone is crushing and mean, and the vocals are gurgly and bubbly, and the blast beats are insane. There's not much else I can say here, you know, just like, oh no, dude, wait. Yes, dude, I can. I saw Sulfuric Cautery live at the Ataraxia Death Fest in Japan in November. It was crushing. It had one of the best pits of the festival. It was sick. And life ain't all that bad, you know? Number 7. Spume. By the birth Reingurgitation. I know, again, Spume is borderline gore grind. I don't really give a fuck. This is my platonic, scratch that. This is my hypersexual ideal of slam. I confess, I'm not the biggest fan of slam, you know? I like brutal slamming death metal, but I don't like slam too much, you know? But I would. If this was representative of the genre, you know, Spume is more than anything really fucking disgusting. You know, it's ugly. The mix is Spartanic, the tones holistically carry the sound without a lot of post-processing because it doesn't give a fuck. It's not here to be pretty or pristine, it's here to give you the syphilis, or maybe leprosy, along with just a fucking greed of a logo. The entire aesthetic is just, you know, all around so fucking charming and unmarketable, which is very important. I fucking love it. It's like myconate graffiti, it's mushrooms dancing with maggots, you know? Peak slamming gore grind / brutal death metal. No favorite song here, I think. This just kinda, blends into each other, but it has standout moments in every other song, Well, every song, but yeah, check it out. So I started rambling a little bit too much, so I got my notes here to read off from occasionally. I still try to yab on a little freely, Makes it more fun, I think. Next up is Relics of Humanity, Absolute Dismal Domain. This is pretty much what Relics has always done, so it's like Death Sun, School, Proggy, the works. It's a unique mix, so this is what I'm gonna highlight here. Like the bass sounds kinda lo-fi. Guitars, of course, are crushing mid-scoop and envelop the rest of the mix in a tight bass. I think they're like 82% left-right panned. Could be wrong, but it's not a white space, is what I'm saying. It's a constricted, claustrophobic bass, which makes the wide and vast reverb of the vocals and the drums, especially on that fantastic snare. It seems like it's coming from a bottomless pit right in the center of the mix, which clever little production choice, like rising ambient noise that beckons back at you, Reverb overall also sounds like it either has its own bit of tape saturation or maybe a little bit of distortion through saturation on the master here. I don't know. I'm a little bit nerdy about this stuff. I try to make sense of what I hear in that sense, I guess. I don't know exactly. I just know that I love the end result. I like this mix, My. I wish the vocals, as much as I love the sound of them, had been just a little bit lower in the mix, just to melt more into the ensemble, sort of, Minor criticism, though, among my otherwise overwhelmingly positive feelings about the whole record. My favorite track, definitely Paralyzing the Light 2, on account of its groovy fucking outro. Dude, I fucking love that shit. And the closing track, Dominion, which, maybe a weird choice, it's an outro, it's not a proper song. I love concept albums, dude. So I'm bound to like conceptual tracks which perfectly and properly fill the role. That's just my opinion, I don't fucking know. Just a little side note here, I'm listening to a 2025 Dungeon Synth album in the background right now. It's Old Sorceries, The Escapist. That shit is so cool, dude. I feel like a goblin right now. I mean, I am a goblin right now. Number 5. Bloodtied, Dismantling Neuroanatomy. It's a frantic, primal, lo-fi production with like moments of folky, melodious bursts and vocals that feel like an incantation, Cue the Witcher fight montage here or something. The version I listened to, at the very least, was aggressively compressed to the point that the master was having these sort of soft to hard clip distortion moments, like I love it. I do. So the tones are good, especially the drums. Nice and woody. My favorite kind, with a beautiful tendency of the drum fills to consist of bell shanks left and right and on all sides. It's the Atmo parts feel like a Japanese horror movie score, It's so cool, bro. So yeah, man, this is just all around real good. I'd say pure brutal death metal album in form and function. Not too big on the bass tone here, kind of gets buried and is a bit on the drier, bony side of things, and a bit of perceived fuzz to it. I don't know. It works well for the higher register, but the lower notes vanish at some point, I feel like. The effects are cool. Slightly modulated ping-pong delay on the vocal fade-outs, subtle and not too memey bass drops. How do you hear them, all too often in modern slam productions. My favorite track is a bit too hard to pick here. I admit that the song blend a bit into each other too much, Maybe it's a little bit formulaic, which is why I want to highlight the interlude, Elegy of Indifferent, and the outro, Cessation, which tease something I love about the next entry. Or should I say the same fucking entry, because psych, this is actually a top 11 and I don't give a fuck. Tied with Bloodtied, it's fun, is BUBBA, Cogwheels of the Pious Forge, on account of the stylistic similarity, since in large parts it's the same folks writing the music here. And tonally, especially on the vocals, you can tell. My experience with these albums felt like there was a continuity, which compels me to rank them about equally. Also, there are some riffs that are borderline just, refurbished between the albums, so I think you're slick, but it creates a continuity. Maybe BUBBA is a bit elevated to me due to the unapologetic sense of accent mentality. The first thing I read about the band, was that one of the musicians was part of Dripping's live lineup. Shapeless aesthetic of the cover seems to be where comparisons should stop, in my opinion. Many bands struggle to efficiently combine brutal death metal with influences that are more than 1 or 2 degrees removed from the genre, like gore slam. I think BUBBA pulls it off well. In an explosive performance, organically produced, tacky brutes meet melodic riffs that sound inspired by, I have no way to prove this, sound inspired by classic melodeath acts like Intestine, Baalism, Horrendous, but also melodic hardcore acts like I'm Dying or Irate, mid-tempo groove over open, melancholic chord, and breakdowns filled with marvelous crunchy sound and drum fills on one side by quieter passages. Holy shit, there's a trash bag behind me. Where was I? I fucking forgot, let me gather myself. Oh yeah, so passages of acoustic guitars and piano riffs, permanently squeal-like vocals that melt into a sort of harsh noise wall ambient carpet, occasionally broken up by some more accessible, emotional, raw, high harshes, like the pensive nature of the composition, carried by this sort of nice schizophrenic contra. Dude, I'm getting so pretentious right now. So yeah, it's like melodic / depressive brutal death metal that seems natural and effortless. Extraordinarily strong, extraordinarily beautiful. I really like BUBBA. Number 4 probably comes as a little bit of a surprise to my homies. Putridity, Morbid Ataraxia. You all know them, doesn't need an introduction. Putridity kinda did what they always do here. Batshit insane, cryptic riffage further obscured by a crushing high distortion, almost fuzzy tone, blast beats everywhere. The new vocalist fucking kills it with like a voice ridden with grime and slime. It's really fucking disgusting. All the songs on the album are connected by this ominous, distorted, and phasey noise. And of course, samples then range between mood-setting horror classics. Samples that range from mood-setting horror classics like 1972's The Devils to hilarious quotes from Pink Flamingos from the same year. I had to look this up, by the way. I'm not actually a movie buff. And it all culminates in a beautiful, beautiful Enmity cover featuring Torso Fuck. It's an amazing homage. Enmity covers are something you see or hear, not a lot. Quite rare because of how fucking batshit insane Enmity is. It's fucking fun and really ate its way into my brain, bro. But here's where the surprise sets in, right? Because it's probably my second favorite of the album. Didn't quite reach ignominious atonement heights for me. Even though, yes, the forceful production is technically better. The high frequency range, ear cancer of ignominious atonement, that shit originally almost filtered me because my ears couldn't fucking take it. That shit hurt. I just feel like this new album is a smidgen less weird. I guess I'm sure you could say it's more coherent, it's objectively better produced. So either way, I wouldn't blame anyone for picking Morbid Ataraxia over any other Putridity album. And I was convinced that this album was gonna win Album of the Year for me. But holy shit, bro, we got so much good shit this year. Number 4, Putridity, Morbid Ataraxia. Absolutely psychotic, fucking love it. I'm simultaneously rewatching Mushoku Tensei and in Neon Genesis Evangelion right now. I'm getting such tonal whiplash sometimes, bro. Jesus Christ. Number 3, Dead and Gripping, Nefarious Scintillation. This album feels like it came to it from another universe where brutal death metal would have been born from Demilich and Adramelic kind of old school death metal, This is some of the weirdest fucking riffing and sound design choices I've heard in a good fucking while. Even though it stays within classic death metal ensemble choices of instruments, the weirdest it gets is like fretless bass. That's not that out of the ordinary nowadays. The fretless bass, with its weird flanger tone interacting with the riffs, which are constantly shape-shifting due to a very unique finger tone, legato and vibrato, create moments which, if there is no chorus anywhere here in the effects chain, certainly creates the sound of a chorus. The vocals are where the Demilich comparison starts, together with the Phrygian / Greek scale, create something that I would describe as Necron brute. It's tacky, it's proggy and it's atmospheric. It takes its time to develop the alien riffs to make the odd time structure settle and lets you get familiar, which lets me, very happily I might add, recommend this album even to those who usually don't handle or like complex song structure like this too well. That's fucking strong. Really unique vision. Ever since Profane Verse of Murderous Rhetoric has only grown increasingly adept at realizing that vision. Not to mention he also made the amazing fucking album artwork this time around, which is a really awesome piece of abstract black and white art. My favorite song, I feel like I have a bias towards any given song currently playing if I read the song title alongside it, because those carry strong imagery. I think I'ma go with wooden torsos adorned with postulating hexagonal crania. Yeah, first of all, don't play with your food. And second of all, after one hell of a build-up, seamlessly and unceremoniously transitions into this delectable riff of lingering hit-bending chords at the 3-minute 5-second mark, and it's accented with a variety of exciting drum fills as it persists for well over a minute, which I am so thankful for. You can get lost in that part. If you love old school type riffs twisted through time and space and a rotary speaker, listen to Nefarious Scintillations by Dead and Dripping. So number 2, honestly, is a toss-up with number 3. I settled on this one by virtue of the sheer amount of plays I have on this, because I ended up spinning this shit 10 times a day for 5 days when I first listened to it. Bro, I love this shit. So by now you can probably tell my entire top pick range is dominated by borderline to straight up technical brutal death metal. What can I say? This is a sophisticated man's music. I'm a sucker for this shit. I love when, getting into the music, as you start headbanging, it's like an interactive puzzle turns into a fucking dance. So anyway, cacophanacy, metagonism. Someone described this as defeated sanity clone. And I mean, if all tech blends into merely the idea of tech to you by virtue of being, I can see it. And I mean, no doubt the Gang of Kaku was inspired by Defeated Sanity, but stylistically, I'd not call them a clone. I mean, it was probably a joke. I'm taking this too seriously. Even though being a clone wouldn't be a bad thing, first of all, I love the production on this one. Guitar tone has a nice low range build-up, so that provides a sort of sensory bass experience with the right headphones, that is. Not necessarily something that you feel on any kind of gear, but the tone carries that. It has this transistor-like little scratch on the upper frequencies. Bass is snarling at you with this metallic clarity, just enough distortion to cut through the mix, and for what remains to peek through that mess is so clean that it sets itself apart beautifully. You can exactly hear what both instruments are doing at all times, which is just a treat for high-tech brutes like this. The drums have this sweet wooden character again. I love that shit. A ton of headroom and have a beautiful snap to them. The vocals are glued with this nice little room reverb to them that sparks and flares up with every rasp. It's sick. It's so good. So my favorite track here is most definitely the hard problem of targeting an irrefutable endogenous transmission in a somatic compound, which features an absolutely delicious fucking call and response riff between the bass and the guitars over a ridiculously addictive side stick groove. It's so fucking cool. If metaphysical architecture brutal death metal sounds like something you'd enjoy, and I believe it should, listen to this, please. No, Popu, don't drink too much alcohol, you're sick. Shut the fuck up. How do you like my Viscera Infest shirt, bro? I got that shit in Japan. Why am I talking into my fucking beer? This is the mic. Converted to euro, this was $13 a piece. I was a rich man over there. Not anymore. Number 1, for me personally, of course. If we talk this year, you probably already know what comes next. Delaquist, Savior, and Slaver. My favorite album of the year has to be this. I don't even know where to start. This shit is mind-blowing to me, on all accounts, Adrian Cappelletti is a riff sorcerer, conjures up some of the wildest fucking movements in brutal death metal. The production is raw and organic and snappy and punchy, with just a little studio post-production trickery to accentuate and elevate the composition to something that feels fittingly estranged from normal brutal death metal compositions. Getting this out of the way, the most prominent criticism I've seen for this album has been the vocals, which are stylistically more aligned with the hardcore type vocals. They sound decidedly and unmistakably human. Like, yeah, this is an angry motherfucker yelling at you. But dude, I feel this fits this specific blend of deliquesce fucking perfectly. You know, as much as tech booths often turn into a nigh mechanical onslaught, like for example Cacothanacy, yes, or Defeated Sanity maybe, which, while not too mechanical, I would describe as atmospherically elusive and nebulous in an overwhelming amount of their compositions, deliquesce feels emotive and epic in a way that, in my opinion, is a first with this album. You know, I've never heard anything like this in like Involuntary Convulsion or Lurid Panacea or any other of Adrian Capoletti's projects, like even in the newer Disentomb stuff that he co-wrote or like actively wrote, I believe. That shit is like more oppressive, dark, you know, tragic almost, which is awesome. This is different, covers a whole range of emotions to me, which I describe as almost joyously angry. I don't know, maybe this is me. I think the music would lose some of those theatric without these vocals here, so I've gotta, you know, I gotta hand him his flowers here. Without this vocal delivery, this wouldn't be as unique and cool to me. And I, of course, can't forget the bass, handled by Armando Wall, who also plays guitar in Algor Mortis, which is also a sick band that blends brutal death metal with this like hardcore-like vibe, you know? The bass is fucking ludicrous, incomprehensible shapes and movements all around. To me personally, I'm not that big-brained, bro. With natural harmonics integrated in the odd riffs, not something that's done a lot, it adds so much texture to the overall sound. Bro, harmonic repicking is in the midst of like getting properly explored as the legitimate non-gimmick technique in songwriting that it should be. Fucking awesome. So allow me to go on a tangent here. This is highly personal, doesn't reflect at all the intentions of the band here, I'm sure. But mate, to me, this music has like cult-like vibes, religious zealotry, spirituality manifesting maliciously, so it feels very contemporary as opposed to mythical. Like, I'm not talking about scary mysticism in a fantasy feeling sense, but in a decidedly grounded, real-life vibe, like purely mood-based. This could be a concept album of like Urasawa Naoki Sensei's 20th Century Boys, or Hunter x Hunter's Succession arc with Tsarietnich and the Haile family, or even Persona 3's grimy punk Jesus cult leader guy. Again, this is not what the album actually is about, but this is the imagery that pops into my mind. It's angry, and the aforementioned post-prod effect, and even the weird moving riffs where a movement is displaced between the two guitars, left and right, just enough that it creates the illusion of phasing, and the strange modulation effects on the vocals, and the complex bass movements persisting during ringing out guitar chords, right? And the perceived purposefulness of all of this happening, to me, is reminiscent of highly calculated sensory and psychological manipulation based within its illusionist trickery and contemporary mysticism made roots. Are you understanding what I'm saying? I'm sorry, I don't know, bros, maybe I'm corny. This is how I experience music. I don't yap like this on purpose. This is happening to me. Help me. I think my favorite track is the opening track. Tough to pick, and I could fill a top 10 riffs of 2025 just with stuff found on this album, I think. But the opening song, to me, Narcotic Entanglement, featuring Disentomb's Jordan James, it sets the stage and has one of the de facto best main riffs and breakdowns I have ever heard in my fucking entire life. It's innovative, it's stylistically sound, it's composed and performed with incredible precision and purpose. I think this album is kind of visionary, or at the very least an artisan collective's current magnum opus. Please listen to this, keep an open mind so it can be properly blown into smithereens. And thus concludes my 2025 top brutal death metal releases. Again, this is originally for my homies. This was reasonably fucking fun. I may make more videos like this. I have a, I would say, compelling prospect of making top demos slash EPs for the year as well. And I'm also interested in doing lists like this for like every year going back until the very start of brutal death metal. Happy New Year. It's 2026 now. I'm trying to get this finished all on the 1st. We'll see how that works out, right? I'll leave links to all of the bands mentioned in the description, you know, do my due diligence. If you're one of the musicians who made any of this shit, I want to thank you. I cannot say how much you doing what you do means to me. With some of this music, I legit fucking started crying when listening to this shit, you know. All music you will hear in the background is probably from my own projects. So yeah, if you made it until this point in the video, if I don't know you, thanks. I'm glad you stuck around. I've been the Popu. Listen to my music. Maybe until the next video.